Welcome to Writer's Life, an ongoing conversation with writers, authors, and folks in the publishing industry. I'm your host, Marvel Harrison, Publishing Director, Mimbres Press of Western New Mexico University. It is a pleasure to share a conversation today with Heather Frankland. Heather is originally from Muncie, Indiana. She currently lives in Silver City, New Mexico, where she teaches English composition at Western New Mexico University. She has a really interesting background, as Heather holds both a Master's of Public Health and a Master's of Fine Arts in Poetry from New Mexico State University. And then back to her BA was in creative writing with a concentration in environmental studies. So she since has served in the Peace Corps in Peru and Panama and has come a long way from Muncie, Indiana. So welcome to Writer's Life. It's a pleasure to have you.
Great. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. So thank you, Marvel. And I'm happy to answer any questions and have a nice dialogue about writing and how much it's important, and I love it.
Well, so you obviously started in writing. Your creative writing was your original degree. How did you get started? How did you choose that as an undergrad?
That's a really interesting question, because when I started in my undergrad degree, I thought I was going to be a psychology major. That's what I intended to go into. And I went to a liberal arts school where we could not declare a major for a while. They wanted you to experience other disciplines. And my level in English was so high that I skipped like the freshman English, and I was directly put into a literature course. And the teacher, she asked me, she's like, so what have you decided? What's your major? I was like, well, I don't really know, maybe psychology. She goes, you're an English major. And when she said that to me, I was like, oh man, she's right. And so that I was able to accept that that's what I really wanted, even though I had been a little bit uncertain if I wanted to follow that career or that discipline at the time. And at the beginning, I was a double major in political science and English writing. And then I had this experience in Argentina. I was to study abroad, and I saw how polluted certain rivers were, and I got really passionate, and that's what ended up being environmental studies. So I dropped the political science and embraced the environmental studies, what I could have my last couple of years in college. But I love writing. I've written since I could write. So I've actually written stories since I was like 5. My dad is a professor in political science, so hence the political science move initially. And my mom was a teacher as well. And I remember sitting in the back of their classrooms as a kid and writing stories in those old blue books. And so I've always written, though poetry came a little bit later, like 9 years old versus 5.
So Heather, do you have a collection of your old blue books?
Oh, I think my parents probably have a collection of them. I did find one last time I was back when I was in 4th grade. We had a really great teacher, and he asked, we had to write a book. So we had to create a book of short stories or a novel. So big for 4th grade, and you had to do your own illustrations. I mean, you actually had to take, like a box of cardboard and wrap it up in paper and put yarn to bind it. And so I found that when I was back, and they were not great stories, but they were fun to read, that creativity there.
But what a phenomenal experience as 4th grade. So you're like 10 years old.
Yeah.
And a teacher challenging every person in the class that they could embrace being the author of a book.
Yeah. And it's weird because, I really liked that teacher. He was hard but good and challenged us. But in retrospect, as a teacher myself, I think that was really ahead of the times in a sense, having 4th graders, giving them that space to be creative and honoring that, writing little notes about, like, he would write little notes about our stories and what he liked. And I think my handwriting was always very bad, and so my handwriting docked me a little bit, but the creativity, of course, was there, and it was exciting to do it too.
And in this day and age, handwriting doesn't have much of an impact on anything. I celebrate someone who can do calligraphy and who has beautiful handwriting, but that's not the essence of how we can do creativity and how we can move at all.
Yeah, and and when I think back kind of creativity with, teachers, I was lucky and that I had throughout my time before college, I had a few teachers that were so supportive and encouraging of my writing that told me I had talent, that told me that I needed to continue writing. And as a kid and even as a teenager, you soak that up. That's that positive criticism. And I kind of wonder, had I not had that encouragement so early on, would I still love writing today? Would I still have that relationship with it?
I so celebrate teachers, educators, professors.
Mhm.
I am a firm believer that the future of the world does not lie in the hands of children. It lies in the hands who hold the hands of children.
Yeah.
And you're a very good example of that, right up through college and a professor saying, "Oh no, psych isn't your thing.
Yeah.
You're an English major," and really giving you that piece of reflection for your identity.
Yeah.
So, well, lucky us that you had the teachers that helped you get to where you are now. But then you took a left turn there and went into public health. How did that
Yeah.
happen?
Well, I was so after undergraduate, I joined Peace Corps and I
Mhm.
was there for about 2.5 years. And I came back and I worked in Chicago, worked at a nonprofit. And at that time, I hadn't really thought I would do grad school. I just wasn't in my plan. And went into public health because I was a health volunteer in Peace Corps. And I just saw a need and I wanted to be better, have some other skills to bring to it. And so that was public health. And what was great actually in public health too is that I was able to take a lot of electives at Mexico State. So the program allowed me to go into other disciplines. I took a social work class, a psychology course, always going back to some psychology. And then I took a poetry course and I loved it. And one of my teachers in public health, she really admired the fact that I wasn't so much boxed only in health. And she saw how these could work together. And so when we had like a community organizing course, she recommended that I look for a writer who was also a community organizer and have that be my paper and my presentation. And so even, in grad school, people could see that there was not such clear lines between disciplines. But I will say that when I added a fine arts degree on top of my public health, some people were like, "What are you doing?" That seems like an odd combination. But they do work together in a way. I've said before, and that I strongly agree, is that when you are doing writing, you use a very, especially when you're revising, you use a very analytical part of your brain, or when you're reading, and that comes, it's like you're sharpening a pencil, and that comes in so handy in public health. It actually helps you see things a little bit differently, and so it actually that semester where I was in both degrees at the same time, which I can't believe I did that now. Like I think I lived on Sonic and pizza. Like it was really a rough semester. But that was, my brain was working differently in public health because of my poetry. So
And what a wonderful way to have the basis of public health and the need for outreach and communication, whether that's in writing or whether a writer can write and then verbalize it and
yeah.
share it. It's all about an integral part of communication.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I mean, a big part, like I worked on with I was a research assistant and a teaching assistant when I was in public health, and I worked with Marnie Nixon, who's wonderful and still in cruises, and she did a program on health literacy. So I worked with an outreach center more or less, and it does connect, like, because with health you want to make sure that you're using analogies, you're using metaphors just like you use in poetry, so people can understand their condition, because if people understand things, then they're more likely to take ownership and responsibility. And just so public health was all about making it very direct and simple as much as possible. And believe it or not, metaphors are a way to help that. So they all go together in a way.
Well, and now all of this, besides your teaching career, um, and you are the faculty representative for Mimbres Press, working with our student edition of manuscripts of the Mustang, pardon me, the Maverick, being one of the Mustangs of Western New Mexico University. You also have somehow had time to do some musings, do a little bit of memoir work and musings from the Midwest. And you have done a chapbook. So first of all, can you describe what a chapbook is in case people aren't familiar with
Sure.
that?
Yeah, so a chapbook is it's a small poetry book. So usually they're around 24, maybe 30 pages, and it's often around a common theme. And they're kind of like a mini book, they're a small book.
Okay.
And sometimes what will happen is before you do a full book, you might have a chapbook first, and then some of those poems will be incorporated into a full book too.
And you have a image to share with us
Oh,
of
yes,
the
yes.
cover of your chapbook, and the name of it is?
The name of the chapbook is Midwest Musings, and this is promotional material, but this is the cover. And I don't know if you could see that.
Oh, we can. That's lovely.
Thank you. Yeah, my good friend Tina Browder, who's someone I met actually in college, she designed the cover. So it's nice to have that labor of love with people I care about also involved in it.
Well, I'd be really interested in you sharing with us one of your pieces if you are willing to do so.
Sure. Let's see if I can pull it up. If it's still up, and it is. So this is a short piece from the book called Still Life. And this is one that I wrote a version of it a while ago, and then I revised it quite a lot recently. And so I'll go ahead and read it here. Still
Thank
Life.
you.
Still Life. Outside from the stairwell where we sit to wait out the rain, there is a woods next to a coal factory, and one deer prancing through a block of green leaves pressed against fence post and telephone wires. The city will say not to feed her, that even a doe can get aggressive. Children will try to touch her, hold out their hands, pretend they have something inside. If she leaves from what seems safe, leaping from the fenced-in woods to a neighboring yard full of budding flowers and young branches, the city will deport her in the morning to a place where hunting season is more frequent. But for now, the doe is in her woods, and we are here pressed tight. The smell of fresh rain slips through the door, the howling of the wind stalled on the other side. We can't change her fate. We don't even try. We can't even think of what happens when we leave this shelter. The rain makes us stay. We will tell anyone who asks. The rain makes us stay longer than intended. You touch a raindrop on my skin, and I pretend that I don't know that we won't last much longer than this storm. And so we sit in the stairwell, and the doe paces in her woods, safe for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really always appreciate a poet reading their work. That's very touching.
Thank you. I appreciate having the opportunity to read a poem from this work too. So thank you so much.
Well, and we'll be able to share with our listeners how to access your chapbook, and tell us the publisher. Give us another round of that, please.
Sure. So the publisher is Finishing Line Press, and here is the lovely cover. And it is in the pre-order stage right now until August 11th at a discounted rate, and then the book it will actually be out in October, November.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll be able to connect again and maybe we can have some more readings. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us. It's been a joy to speak with you today, Heather, and thanks to everyone who's joined us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the wonderful questions too.
I'm Marvel Harrison, and from all of us at Mimbres Press, may your day be sparked with curiosity and wonder. See you again on the next Writer's Life.